You ever notice how the world screams all day, but no one's really saying anything worth hearing? Noise everywhere. Scrolling, shouting, selling. Everybody's in a rush to talk, but when it's time to listen, oh, that's where they choke. Because listening means you might hear something that rattles you, something that doesn't fit your perfect little puzzle. They hand you a screen, pump it full of noise, flash after flash, image after image, distraction after distraction. You think you're choosing what to look at, what to hear, but you're not. You're being fed. Like a lab rat spinning on a wheel, chasing cheese that doesn't exist. The world's greatest trick isn't hiding the truth. It's making you forget there was ever a truth to begin with. See, the truth, it's not popular. It's ugly, uncomfortable, and it doesn't wear makeup. It doesn't come with filters or a fun little tune in the background. It's quiet. It whispers when the noise dies down. But most people, they never hear it, because they're too busy filling every silence with nonsense. They've traded curiosity for convenience, traded questions for scrolls. The system? Oh, it's brilliant. Give them everything they think they want so they never notice what they've lost. The truth isn't hidden behind locks and guards. No, it's right there, hiding in plain sight. Buried beneath comfort, sugar-coated lies and 10-second videos that rot the brain. Do you ever wonder why it feels like you're sleepwalking, even when you're awake? Like you're moving, but nothing's changing? That's not an accident, that's design. You were born with eyes that could see through illusion, but they made sure to blind you with entertainment before you learned how to use them. Every notification is a muzzle, every trend is a leash, and every like is a cage. But still, you smile while you scroll, laugh while they tighten the rope. They don't need to force control anymore. You volunteered for the chains. But here's the thing. The silence, it's still there, buried under all that noise. It waits, it watches, it knows. Because silence doesn't lie. Silence is dangerous. That's why they fear it. That's why they drown it in playlists and influencers and opinions that aren't even your own. The moment you sit in the silence long enough, things start to shift. That's when you start hearing what they never wanted you to hear. A voice that asks questions, the one that's been screaming underneath your thoughts. You start noticing things that don't line up. Glitches in the illusion, cracks in the story. But most people never make it there. They bail, they run. Silence makes them itch, squirm, panic, so they turn the volume back up. But you're still listening, aren't you? Because something in you knows that you've been lied to. Not once, not by one person, but by the entire structure built around you. They told you what to want, who to be, when to speak, and when to shut up. And you obeyed, didn't you? Not because you're weak, but because you were taught to, programmed, rewired, conditioned. And now that you're finally starting to see it, they'll say you're crazy, delusional, dangerous. You want truth? You better be ready to bleed for it, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you taste it, you can't go back to the processed junk they fed you before. And here's the kicker. It's not going to come wrapped in a pretty message or delivered by some polished speaker in a suit. No. It'll come when everything falls apart, when your world collapses and there's nothing left to distract you. That's when the real voice speaks. That's when the truth walks in, uninvited, and it doesn't knock. You're not losing your mind. You're losing the illusion. That numbness you feel, that's clarity starting to fight its way in. It burns at first, like fire behind the eyes. But don't run, let it in. Let it tear the veil down. You've been asleep for far too long, and the truth doesn't care if you're ready. It never waits, it shows up when it's time, and it doesn't ask for permission. Everyone wants to be saved. That's the funny part. They scream for a miracle, whisper prayers into the dark, wishing for something, anything to rescue them. But no one wants to get dirty. No one wants to look in the mirror and see the real problem staring back. They want light, but they fear the fire. They want change, but they won't move a muscle unless it's trending. What they don't tell you is that sometimes the only savior coming is pain itself. It knocks, not to comfort you, but to shatter the version of you that was never meant to survive. You want to break through? Then get ready to be broken. Not just a little, all the way. Shattered, torn apart, because the person you've been pretending to be, that one has to go. That version of you was built for survival, not greatness. Built to play nice, stay small, fit in, and what has it gotten you? Sleepless nights, numb mornings, another day pretending everything's fine while something inside you claws for air. That voice, the one you keep drowning with distractions and cheap escapes, it doesn't stay silent forever. They told you to smile through the struggle, stay polite while you drown. But what if I told you the very thing you've been trying to avoid is the one thing that could finally set you free? The chaos, the pain, that darkness that creeps in when the world goes quiet. That's not the end. That's the beginning. That's the storm that rips apart the lie you've been living. And if you can survive it without running back to the same prison you called comfort, then maybe, just maybe, you'll finally meet the version of yourself they tried so hard to bury. Because the truth is, you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to rise above, not with elegance, not with grace, but with scars, with blood on your knuckles and fire in your eyes. They won't clap for you when you start. They'll call you unstable, too much, too intense, because deep down they fear what you're becoming, not because it's wrong, but because it reminds them of what they could have been if they hadn't sold their soul for approval. Do you know what it's like to wake up and realize the cage was never locked? That the prison was built in your head, reinforced by every lie they fed you? That the door was open the entire time, but you never walked through it because comfort whispered louder than courage. And now here you are, realizing what they hoped you'd never figure out, that no one is coming, no magic savior, no perfect moment, just you and the storm. You want out? Good. But first you're going to have to kill every excuse. Burn every story you've been using to stay small. No more blaming them or life or fate. Rip off the mask Strip down the ego. You'll bleed, you'll doubt, you'll break. But in the wreckage, something stronger is born. Not polished, not pretty, but real. And once you see it, what you're truly made of, you won't want to go back to pretend. You'll laugh at the old version of you, the one who thought they had to wait for permission. It's never been about waiting, it's always been about deciding. And that moment when you finally stop asking for the world to change and start becoming the one who does the changing, that's when everything shifts. They'll feel it. Oh, they'll notice. The silence in you will get louder than their noise. Your stillness will scream louder than their chaos. Because once someone stops being afraid of the dark, they become the thing the dark fears. Not because they're invincible, but because they've been destroyed and rebuilt with eyes that see through the games. The pain wasn't punishment, it was the invitation. The breakdown wasn't failure, it was the beginning of the rebuild. And the version of you that's coming, that one doesn't need to fit in. That one doesn't need to be liked. That one walks with a grin because they finally realize something beautiful. The fire didn't come to burn them alive. It came to show them they were made of it all along. People walk around like puppets, strings tied to their habits, their fears, their fake little rules. Wake up, eat, smile, numb, repeat. They don't even question it anymore because the system doesn't need to chain them. It just needs them distracted enough to forget they were ever free. And that's the trick, isn't it? You get them busy chasing crumbs and they forget they were meant to own the whole damn table. You ever notice how quiet it gets when you stop pretending? When you don't laugh at the joke? Don't fake the interest. Don't say I'm fine when your insides are on fire. That silence, it scares them because it means you're slipping out of their grip, out of the mold, out of the story they forced you into. That's when they call you broken, dangerous, unstable. But the truth is, you're waking up. They don't want that. They want you manageable, predictable, like a domesticated beast. But what happens when the beast remembers it's wild? What happens when it stops sitting, stops obeying, stops apologizing for its hunger? They panic. Oh, they panic real good. Because the second you stop needing their approval, their control dies. And they know it. You were born into a script written by people who forgot how to live, and they passed it down like a curse. Study this, work that, say please, say sorry, hide your fire, swallow your dreams. And the best part, they convinced you it was all your idea. That's the punchline. You spend your whole life trying to be enough for people who never even knew who they were. So, here's the twist. The moment you realize you don't have to play along anymore, that's the beginning of the real chaos. Not the kind you run from. The kind that sets you free. The kind that tears down the fake smiles and polite lies. The kind that reveals what you are underneath the roles and expectations. And it isn't pretty. It isn't soft, but it's real, and real scares the hell out of them. People say, don't be angry, don't be loud, don't be too much. But why not? Who does it serve when you shrink? Who wins when you stay silent? Not you, not the truth, only the illusion. And the illusion has had its turn. Now it's your move. So scream, burn, break the mirror, do whatever it takes to see the thing they tried to bury. Your actual self, the one that didn't ask for permission to be a lie. You don't need to be understood. You don't need to be liked. You need to be awake. You need to be alive, because everything they ever told you to fear, failure, rejection, pain, it was all designed to keep you tame. But you were never meant to be tame. You were meant to rip the mask off this world and show it what happens when someone remembers who the hell they are. Most people are addicted to comfort. They'll choose the familiar misery over uncertain freedom every time. Not because it's better, but because it's known. Known is safe. Known doesn't hurt as much. But you're here because something inside of you refuses to stay asleep. That little spark, that ache in your chest, that's not weakness. That's not weakness. That's not weakness. And now it's ringing louder. You feel it when you scroll, when you stare at the ceiling, when everything feels wrong, but no one says anything. That's the edge. The edge where everything changes. Not because someone saves you, but because you finally decide to stop pretending. That's the shift. That's when the old world cracks open and something new starts to bleed through. So go ahead. Let them call you crazy, let them laugh, let them run. You weren't born for their comfort. You were born for the fire. And if you let it, it'll burn everything fake off of you until nothing's left but the truth and the truth. It's terrifying, it's messy, it's alive, just like you. It's funny, isn't it? How everyone pretends like they've got it all figured out. The smiles, the routines, the "I'm doing great" lines they throw around like confetti at a funeral. But when the noise stops, when the show ends and it's just them and the silence, they crack. Because the silence whispers the truth. And the truth, it's uglier than they'd ever admit. It tells them they're lost. That they're lying to themselves. That everything they've built was just a mask stitched together with fear. People will do anything to avoid looking in the mirror too long. Not the glass one, the real one. The mirror inside. The one that doesn't lie. The one that shows them the cowardice behind their choices, the dreams they traded for safety, the rage they buried under politeness. They'll chase anything to avoid it. Money, status, followers, even fake love, just to keep from feeling that hollowness creeping in when the distractions wear off. And what do they say to the ones who do see it, the ones who can't look away anymore? They call them too sensitive, too intense, too much. Because deep down they know it's not weakness, it's clarity. You're not broken for feeling too much. You're cursed with vision. The kind of vision that tears through the facade and sees the rot underneath. And no one wants to be seen like that. They'd rather blindfold themselves with comfort and call it peace. There's this sick game we all get shoved into, born into. Smile at the right time, clap when you're told, sit still, fit in, be a good one. But what they don't tell you is that every rule they fed you was designed to break your spirit without leaving a mark. That's the genius of it, the invisible cage. the one you decorate yourself, and the more you follow, the more they applaud, while your soul quietly suffocates under all the expectation. Ever notice how the world only celebrates the real ones after they're gone? After they've been burned at the stake, shunned, laughed at? Then suddenly they're legends, saints, geniuses. But when they were alive, walking the streets with fire in their eyes, all they got was ridicule. Because people don't want truth walking around like it owns the place. They want it buried, silenced, forgotten. Because truth has a way of showing up uninvited and ripping the masks off everyone in the room. You were never meant to blend in, but they trained you to believe your difference was a flaw, the way you think too much, feel too deep, question everything. They told you to tone it down, water it down, dumb it down, because if you stayed sharp, stayed loud, stayed honest, you'd be dangerous. And they can't have that. They can't control someone who's already seen the puppet strings and decided to cut them one by one. They'll push you to the edge, then call you insane for standing there. But what they don't understand is that the edge isn't the end, it's the beginning. The edge is where the noise dies down, where the mask slips, where the world you were told to accept starts to crumble. And in that rubble you find something terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Your own voice, not the one they approved, the real one, raw, loud, undeniable. People worship the idea of change until it shows up and demands a sacrifice. They love the thought of growth until it starts burning away the lies they've built their lives on. You can't have both, the illusion and the truth. One has to die, and most people, they'll choose the illusion every time. They'll die with their potential still locked inside, because at least the prison was familiar. At least it was comfortable. But you, if you're still here, if this voice even makes your skin crawl in the right way, maybe you're different. Maybe you've already tasted too much truth to go back. Maybe your pain isn't something to be healed from. Maybe it's a compass, a warning, a signpost that you were never meant to be another brick in their pretty little wall. Maybe the parts of you they tried to fix were never broken. Maybe they were just too real for a world built on lies. You know what's funny? People think they're awake just because their eyes are open. They walk, talk, eat, scroll, repeat, routines on loop, thoughts pre-packaged, feelings neatly stuffed into labeled boxes. But they're asleep, wide awake and fast asleep, dreaming they're free, while every move they make is a reaction, not a decision. That's the trick, see? The illusion of control. They gave you a toy steering wheel and told you you're driving, but the destination was already written before you even knew what a road was. You were told what to value before you ever had the chance to choose. Pretty pictures, shiny things, hollow praise from hollow people. They sold you a life made of numbers. How many likes, how many followers, how many zeros in a bank account that still can't buy you peace. And you bought it, we all did once, because it's easier than asking the questions that tear your reality to shreds. Who am I without this mask? Why do I feel so empty when everything looks so perfect? What if everything I was taught was just a polite version of a lie? No one wants you to ask those questions, not your teachers, not your boss, not the smiling faces in your feed, because questions like that crack the glass, and once it starts cracking, you can't unsee what's on the other side. You start noticing the patterns, the scripts, the way everyone talks like they've rehearsed it 1,000 times, the way they nod, not because they agree, but because it's expected, the way they cheer for things they don't even believe in, just to avoid being the one who sits in silence. Because silence, real silence, makes people uncomfortable. It's where truth lives. They want you tame, predictable, distracted. They dress up fear in words like responsibility and stability and feed it to you until you're full enough to forget the fire in your gut. That fire, they call it anger, rebellion, immaturity, but it's not. It's your soul, remembering what it feels like to be alive, to not just exist, but to burn. They'll say calm down. They'll say be realistic. They'll say just be grateful, but none of that comes from truth. It comes from control. They don't want you to wake up. They want you to comply, because awakened people are unpredictable, and unpredictable people, they are dangerous. Who've ever watched someone break? Not the dramatic kind, the quiet kind, the kind that happens behind fake smiles and small talk. When someone's light dims just a little more every day until one day, there's nothing left but autopilot. That's what they want. People too tired to fight, too numb to question, too scared to change. That's the factory setting. Default human. But every now and then, someone sees the glitch in the matrix. And that moment, that's the beginning of war. Not with guns, with truth, with awareness, with refusing to pretend 1 second long. They'll call you selfish when you stop performing, arrogant when you speak truth without a bow on it, cold when you choose solitude over fake connection. But the thing is, you're not any of those things. You're just awake. And waking up, that's the most rebellious act in a world obsessed with sleep. You're not here to be polite. You're not here to shrink yourself into something small enough to fit into their comfort zones. You are here to be seen, raw and unfiltered. And that will scare them. Good. Let it. Because the ones who truly see you, who aren't blinded by fear, won't flinch. They'll lean in. They'll rise with you. But don't wait for them. Don't wait for applause or permission or validation. They might never come. And if they do, it'll be too late. You weren't meant to be understood by a world addicted to illusion. You were meant to disturb it. Shake it. Burn it if you have to. Because truth doesn't whisper, it roars. And if no one else hears it, fine. As long as you do. So go ahead. Be the glitch. Be the wild card. Be the one who stops playing dead in a world that rewards the corpse. Because once you remember who you are, truly are, there's no going back. And why would you want to?